Well, I was born in a little town called Pierce, Minnesota in 1937. I was the 10th child. We lived on a farm. It was a very small town, so it wasn't too big of a farm, but it was a farm. And then we moved to another little town called Lastrup. I spent more years in Lastrup. That was even smaller. But we still lived on a farm. No, it really never bothered me at all. All people seemed to be very friendly. So whoever was around was good. But I do know that we didn't see any colored people. Except once must have been a colored, I don't know, it was out in the field or something, and one of my nieces saw a colored person come running to her mom because she was afraid. Because we never saw him, But then found out you could talk to him, so that was great too. Style. Well, the ladies wore pretty long dresses. They didn't wear anything that was not proper. You had to wear sleeves. You had to wear shoes when you went somewhere. These old ladies always wore the same shoes. They had black heels and shoes that tied black. That was old lady shoes. Men had one pair or two pair of boots, but they had Sunday shoes. They were tie shoes too. They were Sunday shoes. They had men wore hats on their head, Sunday hats or caps, but then Sunday was a hat. Ladies wore hats to church. There was many different kinds of hats. Some had flowers hanging off the side. Some had feathers. So people would notice their hats. As far as their other clothes went, they had what they called their Sunday clothes. They could get dressed up and go to town and wear nice clothes, but once you got home, you put on your old work clothes, which were jeans or overalls in those days, which wasn't considered a nice piece of clothes like it is now. They just worked in those jeans, but they all wore them. Now people like them. But I had one aunt, my Aunt Elie. We thought she did really good. She became Miss Minnesota, was in the 1920s, and ever since she was Miss Minnesota, she lived in Washington, D.C. So she was really got a good job. And if I remember right, she sent us some articles that said she was the first lady ever to get the bronze medal. But I don't know what the medal was for, but she did get it. So she did good in the White House. She was there the rest of her life. But she started from Pierce, Minnesota, and she went to college somewhere because she loved to play the piano. That's what she did. A caboose. The end of the train was a little red train, and the man would always sit in there. Well, there were so many kids that would come riding through our yard when that train started coming. I never missed a day either, ran down there, because some of the kids were little. And we didn't have a fence. We didn't even have a fence between that yard and that train. Pretty soon that man, I never knew who he was, started throwing candy way out into the yard, and he did that all the while we lived there. So if more kids came, then they stopped having a caboose. The train didn't have no caboose anymore. But all the while there was a caboose, that man threw candy. So all the kids remember that. That was a very nice thing. We always got candy. So then there was a lot of things. The kids played together with the neighbors. They rode their bikes and ran around the block or a little dump pile. If there was the dump was up the road, they had to go look in there. There was always something they did. So between all those kids, they were all good well, not good, I should say. They were noisy enough. And they had a few little fights, not big ones either. They all grew up. They still know each other, go to each other's weddings. It was a good neighborhood. So I can remember when I went to school, All we had to bring was a tablet and pencils, some colors, and there was 4 of us, 4 grades in one room, so if somebody was smarter in the 5th grade than the 8th grade, you could answer those questions. But we only had one teacher for 4 grades, so we learned a lot, but there's only like 7 or 8 kids in a grade. So it was mostly the books. The books were old, but we had math, we had language, we had, of course that's English now, but we had language. We had spelling, and every Friday afternoon we had spelling. We'd all stand against the wall, and they'd say a word, and everybody could spell that word to see who was the last one standing. So we always thought that was fun.